Hello, welcome to your mindset training for body, mind, joy. Today we're going to talk about someone else phrased this for me and I love it, lie replacement therapy. So first off, why are we talking about the concept of lies as it comes to our fitness journey? Here is why. What I have found is that what I have going on internally, my internal state will affect my external life. It'll affect my energy levels. It'll affect my decisions externally. So what I have going on within my internal process will affect the decisions that I'm able to make around my fitness journey and even how I'm feeling physically. And so today we're going to talk about the concept of lies or false narratives. Either one of those, I'll probably use those phrases interchangeably, and how they affect our journey and what we can do to counteract them. So before I jump into the how-to, I'm going to share a little bit with you about how I even came upon this. And it really is pretty amazing. It was not taught to me by anyone. I didn't read about it. It was something that I believe was presented to me, whatever your belief system is, I believe is presented to me by God. If God's not a part of your belief system, the universe, however you want to see it. So several years ago, I went through a season of burnout. I was diagnosed with something called adrenal fatigue, which is just a fancy term for burnout. And during that season, it was a little confusing because within my life, I didn't have things in my life that were necessarily really toxic that I would have thought would have caused burnout. I didn't have a family member that was like really struggling with their health or addiction. I didn't have a really stressful job. Yes, I was a mom and being a mom stressful, but not to the extent that I was experiencing physically with my adrenal fatigue. And so what it began was this journey of kind of digging deep and unraveling and understanding what was going on within my internal state. And there was a lot of things that came up, but one of it was these lies or false narratives that I was believing. And the way that it came up was I was painting my house one day, the outside of my house. We didn't have a lot of money. Our house needed to be painted, so we did it ourselves. Not something I ever want to repeat again. I was painting my house, and I was just thinking about everything I was going through in regards to adrenal fatigue. And all of a sudden, I just felt overcome with this sense that like I've been believing lies about myself that have then impacted the decisions that I'm making and the motivations behind my decisions. And in that moment, I stopped what I was doing. I stopped painting. I made sure my kids were distracted and safe. And I kind of tucked myself in the corner of my backyard by a fence. And I grabbed a notebook. I grabbed my journal and a pen. And I just started to list out all of these lies that I was believing. And what I did was I pictured like anytime I have a negative thought towards myself, that was a lie. And for example, one of the lies that I found that I was believing, I started believing at a very young age, was that in order to be loved and worthy and accepted, I had to be perfect. And the result of believing that one little lie was me living this life, going to the nth degree, giving 150% in everything that I did, which was not sustainable, and eventually ran me into the ground. And I was doing all of these things, trying to strive for perfection to be able to achieve worth and feel loved. So I took some time, I wrote down all these lies, but then what I had to do is I thought, what do I do with this? What do I do with these lies? And so then what I did is I wrote down the counteracting truth that went against those lies, right? That spoke against those lies. For me, I'm a person of faith, and so for me, that counteracting truth was written out through the lens of my faith. It doesn't have to be that way though. So for example, the example that I gave as far as finding worth in perfection, the counteracting truth would have been that I am wholly seen and wholly loved even in my most imperfect moment. Then I took it all one step further and I got some index cards. And on my index cards, on one side of the card, I wrote down the lie that I was believing. And then on the other side of the card, I wrote down the counteracting truth. I took it one step further, and because of my faith, I found some biblical evidence that backed up that truth. Now, here's the disclaimer, or here's kind of the caveat. The truth should not be harsh in this scenario. So for me, my lie was that in order to be loved and worthy, I have to be perfect. The counteracting truth was you are wholly loved and wholly seen exactly as you are in all of your imperfections. The counteracting truth was not, We'll keep working hard to be perfect and then you'll be loved. Does that make sense? So then what I did is I kept these cards somewhere handy. And in those moments that I started to feel kind of anxious or stressed or is worried about how someone might respond to me or is feeling overwhelmed, I would hit pause. So I kind of slow down, I'd hit pause and I'd go, what is the lie that I'm believing right now? And I'd look through I call them truth cards. I look through my truth cards. I'd find the lie that I was believing. I would verbally say it out loud. I would flip the card over and then I would verbally say the truth out loud. I eventually got to the point where I didn't even need the cards. I was able to identify the lie immediately. And then I was able to speak the counteracting truth over it. So why is this important? Why are we talking about truth and lies in your internal state on the fitness journey? This is why. Our internal state affects our external state. And so we're going to get to the root of what we've got going on internally, our mindset, so that as we shift that in a positive direction, it is going to flesh out on an external level. So, some things I want you to think about. Here's your homework assignment. When you're done watching this video, I want you to get a timer. I want you to set it for 5 minutes. And in those 5 minutes, I want you to start out all of the lies that you've believed over the years, all of the false narratives. If you're having a hard time figuring out, imagine if there is a mean person standing next to you, what are the mean things that you're hearing or thinking towards yourself? Okay? Just word vomit them out, write it out. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Then, after that 5 minutes is up, I want you to go through that list. And I want you to write down next to each lie a counteracting truth. Now, as I mentioned before, the truth is not going to be, well, you need to try harder, do better, be better, right? The truth needs to be filled with grace and mercy and love and acceptance and empathy. That is the grid of which the truth should be under. You're going to write down the lies, write down the counteracting truths, okay? Step 3, get some index cards or get a piece of paper and tear it up into some smaller pieces. On one side of the paper, write down your lie, and on the other side of the paper, write down your truth. Step 4, put those truth cards somewhere handy so that when you need to access them, you know exactly where they are. Step 5, this is going to take more time. Start to develop an awareness of what you've got going on internally. Start to identify and understand when you're feeling anxious, and then ask yourself, why am I feeling anxious right now? What is the lie that I'm hearing and believing? Why am I feeling stressed about this? What is the lie that I'm hearing and believing? Why am I feeling overwhelmed? What is the lie that I'm hearing and believing? Okay? Start to become aware of when those lies start to bubble up. And then when you identify it, if you have your truth cards handy, go and read through them. If they're not handy, like let's say you're at the store, stick it in your back pocket, and when you get home, go through those truth cards. So, just to rehash, you're going to write down your lies, you're going to write down the counteracting truths, you're going to write the truth cards, you're going to, in general, develop what I would call a rhythm where you hit pause and you become aware of what's going on internally and become aware of those lies and then counteract them with the truth. Last step, reach out for support. Whether that's me or someone else that you feel safe with, communicate to them what it is that you're learning, right? Invite them into the process. If it's your best friend, just tell them like, hey, I realize I've believed this lie about myself my whole life, and it has led to these choices that I've made. I am learning that this is the truth. I need you to help speak truth to me. Whether that's a friend or I'm happy to do that as well. The truth is, this is not a linear process. You don't work on your fitness, work on your nutrition, work on your mindset. It's circumferential, meaning we are working on all of it at once and it's all connected to each other, which is why we're ripping off the Band-Aid and having conversations around what's going on with your internal state. As always, reach out to me if you need any help or support in this process. I'm proud of you.